Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Shine podcast with me, Paddy McCurdie. And I just want to thank everyone for their comments from Sunday's episode, the very first episode. They're all really, really positive, and I had quite a good response across various social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So that was really, really excellent. And again, if I've kind of inspired anyone to at least do one meditation since Sunday, then that's really, really good. And if it's got people kind of thinking about alternative practices or even alternative realities, then even better. So this week, as I mentioned last week, I just want to build upon the first episode, and it's really to go into the reasons why people get involved in meditation. So just a little bit of insight into why people actually get involved in meditation. Now, first of all, I just have to start by saying you don't need a reason, and that's really, really key to understand. It's not something whereby you need to be suffering or coming off a difficult situation or going through some kind of spiritual disconnection. It's just something you can do. So if you're really happy in life, if your job's going good, if your relationships are good, if you're eating well, if you're training and getting a lot of exercise and things are going good, you mightn't think that meditation can benefit you, but actually it can. And in fact, it can benefit you much quicker, because if you come from a foundation of being really stable and quite happy, then the meditation can work quicker and it can get to effect a lot quicker. So as I say, even if you're happy, just turning inwards can give you just that little bit of time each day to actually really connect with your own true feelings, connect with your own intuition, and maybe even a bit of spirituality. So as I say, you don't need any particular reasons. You don't have to go in really deep, as I said in the first episode, but just do it, and as I say, and see how it goes for you. So just the actual reasons. So I'm just going to give some insight into some of the reasons why people start to meditate. And as I say, I can share a little bit of my own insight, but some reasons then. So I think the obvious reason, and what a lot of people would associate meditation with, is if somebody's coming in from a position of mental health problems, emotional discomfort, addictions, etc. Now that's a big motivator for a lot of people to start taking up meditative practice, and it's understandable. Obviously, when you're experiencing emotional suffering, people maybe try to find something that's going to help alleviate that, and in many respects, meditation absolutely can do that. But it's not an overnight success. It takes time. So if you're coming from a foundation of being in a lot of pain and suffering, it is going to take time to come out to the other side, but eventually you will get there. And meditation and working with your mind is the best way to do that. So the meditation centre I attend in the Campus Centre in Merchant City in Glasgow. I've got speaking to quite a few different people down there about some of the reasons that they actually go there. But last week I was talking to a young guy who was had alcohol problems, had been arguing with his partner. He had been to meditation before, dropped off, and now he's coming back. And he's really, really positive about it all. He's banned a lot of books, using a lot of mantras to help him stay off drink. And I thought that was really, really quite commendable. And, I was actually quite pleased myself to see somebody who was prepared to give this a go to help him alleviate his kind of suffering. So on that point around mental health, I mean, a lot of people say the problems of the mind can be solved in the mind, and I would agree with that. I would liken meditation, and others would liken it to imagine an overgrown garden. So wherever you grew up, wherever housing estate you grew up, or housing scheme, or row of terraced house, whatever it happens to be, the district that you grew up, everybody knows a kind of a sort of eccentric hermit type character who's a bit of the neighbourhood weirdo, and never goes out, is a bit unkempt, and their garden is always overgrown. It's full of weeds, it's full of rubbish, it's full of rocks, it's full of everything. So imagine someone who maybe is going through mental pain, emotional discomfort, or mental health problems. Imagine their brain is like that garden. It's full of just rubbish. It's overgrown. It's totally all over the place. And that's what their emotions and their mind is like. Now, meditation, working with the mind, can actually start to clean that garden up. So, taking the time every day to do it can help you understand how the mind works. And over time, then you can begin to sort of disassociate and disattach from the mind. And that's a really, really powerful thing to kind of help you through those situations. Now, initially, when people come from a position of being in sort of mental pain or suffering, whatever it happens to be, I mean, imagine you're clearing that garden up in reality. You know, you've got your shovel, you maybe have a skip. Once you start clearing that garden out, initially you're probably sitting there going, God, this looks even worse, because you're making a mess move and everything. And it's sort of dawned on you the scale of the task. And sometimes people, when they first go to meditation, they experience the exact same feelings. They'll think, my mind's a mess, look at the state of me, you know, this isn't going to make me any better. Because in effect, meditation in the mind is starting to clear it all out. And it's like initially when you start to clear the garden out, it looks worse. You realise the scale of the task, and it maybe causes you more despair. The mind's very similar. Meditation is a process of starting to clean the mind out, but initially it may be worse, and initially you may have further emotional discomfort, which is why a lot of people give up on it. But you know what? The best thing to do is just to keep at it, because if you keep at it, the benefits will start to come through. I mean, the mind itself, the mind is a very, very powerful thing. You know, people are constantly thinking stuff. You know, the mind's dictating everything we do a lot of the time. So it's a very, very powerful sort of creation within our own heads. But in reality, and a lot of spiritual teachers will teach this, and they will tell us that as human beings, we're, you know, the clues in the name, we're beings. So in effect, we're just a consciousness. A lot of spiritual teachers will just describe the human experience as being consciousness, and we're all interconnected. So everything around us, trees, plants, animals, we're all interconnected in this one stream of consciousness, but we all kind of surface in different life forms. So even if you don't kind of believe that, you can't kind of deny that everything on the planet's interconnected in that way. So coming back to this consciousness, a lot of the spiritual teachers would say, okay, so everyone is consciousness, and that the mind is only a tiny part of the overall consciousness. And that's probably true. But the reality for a lot of people is that they just identify with their mind and nothing else. So when they feel stress, they start thinking more negative thoughts, and that makes the situation worse. They start repeating these really critical, negative self-talk to themselves. Again, that's the mind really pushing them down and dragging them down even further. So on that basis, for a lot of people, it's very difficult to disengage from your mind. But what meditation can actually do, it can actually almost create a separation between the being, the present moment, the self, and the mind. And there's a good meditation for that. I mean, if you imagine yourself as, imagine inside yourself, all your organs have just dissolved away, and all you really are is just white light, just consciousness. And imagine even your skin dissolves away. So you can actually do a meditation with this. So you're not left with any sort of physical entity. Your whole body's dissolved away. You're just like a white hue of consciousness. So what is actually your mind? You know, it's not physical. It's not a physical entity. You can't take a photo of it. You can't describe it. You can't really look at it. You know, it's very hard to kind of imagine exactly what it is. Do you know what I mean? So on that basis, people would struggle to describe what it is, but yet everyone identifies with it so much as if it is this ultimate controller, where in reality it's not. The mind is just a tiny part of your overall consciousness. And actually, by meditation, you can actually transcend your thought, because if you're breathing, if you're focusing on energy in your body, you're not thinking. You're taking that away. So in that moment, you're very much grounded. You're in the present moment. You're just being, and you're not thinking. So when you're not thinking, you're not identifying with your thoughts. You're not identifying with your mind. So you've disengaged, and you've completely disattached from your mind. So on that basis, then, if you continue to meditate regularly, you'll find then that you don't give so much control to your mind. So you're able to move away from it. You're able to easily go into the present moment, and you're able to kind of not sort of see it as something that it defines you, because it doesn't define you. Your mind doesn't define you. Just as I spoke about, it's kind of, it's not a physical entity. You can't describe it. So how can it be something that really defines you when you can't really define what it is? So that's an important point. If you ever read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, he talks about human beings being addicted to thinking, and I totally agree with that. I think most of us are addicted to thinking. Every thought that comes in, we give it credibility, and in reality, thoughts just pop in, and most of the time they absolutely mean nothing. But we've just become so accustomed to identifying with our minds that we can't really move away from that. And I think really it's that identification with the mind, and it's letting the mind control you, that has caused so much mental suffering. And meditation can actually make you transcend the mind and transcend thought, I feel. And it can just bring you to that state of just being. And when you're just being, I mean, nothing really matters, because that's all there really is anyway. So again, maybe going in a little bit deep there, but mental health problems is probably one of the reasons why people go, because I think they're trying to work out how the mind works, figure it all out, and how to be happy. But sometimes education is a great thing, because if you can learn more about the mind and how it works, and with meditation you can learn more about being present and what being just actually is, it can actually bring you a lot of relief from emotional discomfort. But as I say, you have to really stick at it. It's not something that can be, you do it one day and a couple of days off and do it the next day. It's just an ongoing process. It's an ongoing clear up. And then I believe once you get into that state where you've absolutely cleared everything out, you have to maintain it to make sure it doesn't go back into the tip that it was. So yeah, I mean, that's a great reason to get involved. If you're feeling that you're kind of addicted to thinking, or your thoughts controlling you, or you have mental suffering, I think it's a good reason to get involved. There's a teaching I like in Buddhism, which I think is really, really, it resonated with me. It's called self-cherishing. And in the Buddhism theory, it's kind of like meditating on completely alleviating self-cherishing, because self-cherishing is the root of a lot of problems. Everyone self-cherishes so much. It might be something like, somebody didn't say thank you to you for when you held the door open for them. Somebody might have accidentally knocked into you and didn't say sorry. So the self-cherishing mind says, she or he just done that to me, didn't say thank you, didn't say sorry. How dare they do that, And that's very much self-cherishing. How dare they do that to me? That's a disgrace. And it causes a lot of pain. Now, to lose self-cherishing is just to say, right, that's happened, let it go. And just even something as simple as that can be very profound, because then it takes away the kind of control again of the mind. Because self-cherishing is really just feeding your ego. Your ego is just putting thoughts in your head. You're addicted to those thoughts. You're identifying with them in every single situation. You're identifying with or getting offended by. So self-cherishing in many respects is looking to be offended. And you could walk outside the house tonight and find lots of reasons to be offended. But it really is just a horrible self-cherishing mind that's doing that to you. It's your ego that's driving that. And it's not a good trait to have. So meditation, again, some of these practices, and I can go into them in more details in other podcasts, but meditation then can help you recognize these negative thought processes, such as self-cherishing, and it can actually help you just stop it in its tracks when it comes there. So yes, so that's the sort of mental side of things. I mean, what other reasons do people get involved in meditation? Overcoming limitations, and again, it's linked to the mind. People self-identify with so many things. I can't sing. I'm not good at sport. I wouldn't be able to hold down this job. Every relationship I have a fuck up. My life's shit. So people tell them all these things, and then they identify it and take on those thoughts. Now, again, coming back to the whole thing about being addicted to thinking, it's amazing how we identify with all these thoughts when a lot of the time they don't really mean anything. So meditation can help you see through some of these thoughts, which in effect are limiting thoughts. They're limitations on yourself. So you're able to kind of transcend them, see them what they are. It's just another ego-driven thought that means nothing. Meditation can help you overcome that and just see them as just a thought, a meaningless thought that will drift away. So that's another one. Just some other general reasons. Obviously, I think in Western society there's definitely experiencing disconnect. We live much more complicated lives, and we're constantly seeking escapes through some form. Now, the escapism might come in different ways. Now, sometimes it can be positive, like going to the gym. People might have an attachment to the gym and they run and they train a lot. And it might be a bit unhealthy, but in the sense that it's an addiction of some description, but it's probably more positive because it has a lot of benefits for the body. But a lot of other people get involved in excess drink, using drugs, constantly looking at their smartphones and social media, casual sex, other things, eating too much food, and let's be honest, the biggest one of all, being addicted to your mind. That's the biggest addiction and the worst one of the lot. So it's Western society, we've been bombarded by so much technology, so much crap is in the domain, and it's created this massive disconnect. And I think it's probably where I come from, is that sort of disconnect where so much happening around you. And I think a lot of people that attend meditation have recognised in their lives probably there is some disconnect from everything around them, and are probably seeking some kind of a spiritual path with it as well. So I think that's probably why a lot of people get involved in it. But I think really the one bit of advice I would give to anybody: your mind isn't always your best friend. And if you feel like you're continuously identifying with your mind and identifying with your thoughts, you're torturing yourself unnecessarily, because a lot of your thoughts don't mean anything. We're just beings, we're just consciousness. Thought processes is a very tiny part of that. So just to identify with thoughts all the time it's totally self-defeating. And I think meditation then can help you disengage with those thoughts. Now, you still will get thoughts and you still will get emotions and frustrations, but it's the start of the process to, clearing those up and alleviating those thoughts. So I feel that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people will get involved in it. So going back then to this kind of disconnection in society, we're kind of always looking more. You have a 46-inch TV, and you have it for a few months, and then you want a 50-inch TV or 55 or a home screen cinema. And then when you get that, you're not happy again, and you're looking something else. And you're happy for a little bit, and then you want more. It's the same as jobs. You're in a job, and then you want a promotion, and then you want more money, and then you get that, and you get more money, and you think, well, actually, I'm not really any happier. So you start chasing another job, and then you get there and you realise you're not really that happy either. So it's this constant escapism. Sometimes even travelling, people go on one holiday and they come back, oh, let's book another one. It's continuous escapism and distractions. Now, distractions is a big thing, because many of us constantly looking at smartphones, constantly looking at Facebook, Twitter, different social media platforms, So we're always trying to escape from something. And in reality, what we're trying to escape from is our mind, our thoughts, because we can't sit there for a few minutes and just be still. And you know what? It's not really, a lot of the time, it's not really our fault as human beings, because life is more complicated now. There is more choices, there is more technology, there is more things to do, and it's very, very difficult just to sit there and be. But if you can, it is the key to a lot more of a happier, settled life. So, I've probably went through situations myself where one situation, I feel like I'm not happy, I start chasing something else. I get there, I'm not happy with that. And what it really teaches you is, and it's really, really obvious, I mean, a lot of spiritual teachers will say this also, but happiness lies within. And that's really, really true. I don't know if you ever watched the film The Shawshank Redemption, where the Warder Norton says to Andy Dufresne, and it's probably not the best example to use because the Warder was a really nefarious, wicked man. And it's a little bit of a quasi-religious sort of cheesy phrase, but he did say to Andy Dufresne, salvation lies within, in that film. And I remember watching that, was really young, and I always thought that quote just stood out, salvation lies within, but it just means really happiness lies within. And it's no different to teachings that were in the Bible or other spiritual books. Going back when the Bible was written, whenever that was, 2,000 years ago, I mean, Jesus and whoever else was in the Bible was talking about similar things anyway. So spirituality has been around for a long time, and all spiritual traditions have recognised that happiness does lie within. Now, that's not to say you don't have goals. Of course you can have goals, but you plan your goals wisely. So if you're building a business, you have goals, and you plan for those goals, but you don't get immersed in them and constantly live in the future. If you want to build wealth, I mean, there's nothing wrong with building wealth and looking a bit of money. I personally won't take a vow of poverty myself, but you have to know the right reasons for looking to build wealth. For example, going back to the business example, you might want to grow a business. You might want to go on holidays to specific trips that's going to develop your own sort of personal and spiritual experiences. You might want to take your family away. You might have a few children. You want a bigger car for practical reasons so you can fit more people in and go on day trips, etc. So if you build wealth and use it wisely, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a great quote about money. It says something along the lines of, a wise man or a wise woman once says, to keep money in your head but not in your heart. And I think that's a great quote. But it also comes back to just being, if you want to build wealth or have money or build a business, do it and go for it. But make your actions goal orientated, so you'll do it and then you'll come back to the present moment. Don't start continuously living in the future, or when you get this amount of money you want more. You know the reasons why you want money and how you're going to use it, because if you don't and you're just chasing the figures, it's going to cause you to be unhappy. So yeah, it's coming back to what I talked about in the first sort of podcast about people living in the past and looking to the future too much. If you're constantly in the past or the future, you're disconnected from the present. It's going to cause you problems. So again, have goals, but just keep them as goals and only use your thoughts processes to go into those goals when they're needed for the right reasons. Don't daydream and live in the future continuously, because it's not going to really achieve anything for you. Of course, have dreams, but you need to take actions to make those dreams a reality. And all actions just happen right now in the present moment. So you always need to be in the present, but have your goals. So yes, so again, I've talked quite a lot. And again, when you're talking this much, as I said, this is all unscripted. I'm not editing anything. So sometimes I kind of lose my train of thought a little bit. But yeah, what I would say to anyone is you don't need a reason. And for me, when I came to Glasgow, it took me a while to settle here after moving from London. And I guess part of me was kind of seeking something to ground me. So I guess that's what I was seeking. I was seeking something to ground me. I did have a background, I've been slightly interested in meditation, so it wasn't a total, I'm completely new to this. It was something that I was interested in. So it's kind of no surprise to me that I've started doing it more regularly. But I can talk about in another episode. Sometimes when you go through major life changes. So for me, relocating from London to Glasgow, and to be honest, a lot of the time I'd moved from back home in Ireland over to London, then I moved up to Scotland. Now that was a lot of movement, and in London it was a really high energy, high connection, high vibration city, and when you're plugged into that, it sort of sweeps you along. I remember sitting in an Irish bar in Lewisham and talking to this old kind of Irish labourer guy who came over to London in the 50s, and he said to me, in London you won't get depressed because it's such a high energy city, there's so many people, so busy, it just sweeps you along and you don't really ever get a chance to feel down in the dumps. When I moved to Glasgow, now Glasgow in Scotland's a fantastic place, but initially moving from one area with a high connection, high vibration to another area that was different, your energy fields have changed. Now, whether or not you kind of believe in energy fields, we are surrounded by energy. There's energy through our body. Just looking at the table where I'm recording this podcast, this table is constantly evolving. And I'll give you an example of like a wooden door. In the winter, because it's cold, it shrinks. In the summer, when it's hot, it expands. So objects are always moving, and there's energy within those objects. So everything has energy, and cities have energy, and places have energy, and situations have energy, and scenarios have energy. And when you have a big life change, you're going from one energy field to another, and you know what? That can cause cause complete disarray. And I'm going to do an episode specifically on that because I think that can help people understand, major life changes. So I guess that was kind of one of the reasons why I got involved in it. I'm glad I have got involved in it. That's not to say that life's perfect. It's not. I still have things that annoy me. I'm still working on things, but I'm glad I've sort of adopted this, hopefully now as a long-term thing. And actually, I've ordered a book called The Leap, and it's all about the psychology of spiritual awakening. So I'm looking forward to reading that because I think it'll give an indication a bit more of why people go down this route. So I think I'll leave it there for now because we're coming up to almost 28 minutes or so, which is quite a lot. But yes, please leave comments below. As I say, I'm going to do a few more podcasts. I will talk about in the future some practical sort of guidance on how to actually meditate, how to set, how to get a space that's good for you. And I might even do a guided meditation. And then I think longer term, what I want to do is bring in some guests to talk about their own experiences. So hopefully you found this useful. As I say, if you have any specific questions, do let me know. And best of luck with it all, and speak soon. Bye.